Hey guys, it's Control. Today I'm bringing you my first review from the Witchwood expansion, Hearthstone's newest expansion. I was pretty excited for this one, leading up to, and still am. Yeah, that's probably the past tense. Present tense, I'm excited for it. And today, there's a lot of cards released, but I'm just going to go over the first 20 and kind of bunch them up like this. Going to end up doing 7 videos. 20 in the first one, and then 5 more with 19, and 1 more with 20 cards. And that's what we're going to do. Just, keep it kind of separate and stuff, and this helps me get that juicy ad revenue. So watch ads if you guys are checking this out on YouTube. Anyways, let's just hop right in and review some of the cards earlier. And again, my reviews are always from a wild perspective, so I'm not reviewing them like every other standard player is doing. Reviewing them just in the context of standard or arena. My reviews are unique in that I'm talking about each and every card, specifically for the wild format. So, you wild players out there, I got your back, okay? I'll review them for you from a wild perspective. Put the club goggles on. That's how we like to get wild over here, so this is how we review things in a wild way. Okay? Number 1, right off the bat, Baku the Moon Eaters. This is a 9-mana 7/8 beast, and this is one of the start of the game cards. So if your deck has only on-cost cards, upgrade your hero power. So while this is really interesting and can lead to a lot of cool decks that you can build, I personally don't see it really impacting the wild metagame too much. Right off the bat, the only deck that I can actually think this would legitimately be even kind of an upgrade in is Quest Hunter. I know some of you guys are probably laughing, but this could actually be pretty good in Quest Hunter, okay? Because, you want 1-drops, and you want like a 5-drop as like 12-year Warden, and you want the new 3/2, or the 3-mana 2/1. Actually, Ali's card reveal. We can scroll up and I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview with that. I believe it was one of these cards yesterday. I'm giving you guys Ravencaller. So this is Ali's card reveal. That could be another good card in Quest Hunter. But I feel like so far this expansion is kind of supporting that, which I think is really cool. This upgraded Hunter Hero Power is pretty good. Helps you go face and win that way. So a lot of time when you are playing Quest Hunter, you are going to be floating mana. So that's nice. But beyond that, I don't really see a reason to run this card in Wild. The deck building restriction is just so crazy and just not worth it at all, in my opinion. So I'm going to say Baku the Moon Eater gets 2 thumbs down. 2 big thumbs down for me. Next up, Azalina Soul Thief. So fun card, 7-mana 3/3. I prefer 4-mana 7/7s, but Azalina Soul Thief, 7-mana 3/3. Battle card, replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's. This is a fun card. It'll be in trolled videos. I'll play it a little bit. This will not be a card that you see competitively on ladder. 2 thumbs down! Yeah, I just don't see a scenario where you want your opponent's cards instead of yours. Just put good cards in your own deck, and you'll be good to go. It's not like Togwaggle where you can like have your deck filled with bad cards and switch your opponents. So then they got all your bad cards and then you mill the Togwaggle card. Just doesn't work like that. So Azalina just... No Azalina. Next up, Gen Greymane. 6-mana 6/5. Start of the game. So the other start of the game card. If your deck has only even cost cards, your starting hero power costs 1. This is even harder to build around than the odd cards, man. So I think Gen is like... I just don't see a way that Gen is ever good, is my problem. I don't really see it ever. What deck does Gen work with in Wild? In Standard, some of the cards, and especially, we'll get to them pretty soon, there's some cards that are odd or even specific only that are pretty strong from Standard perspective and in the Standard format. But in a Wild, this deck building restriction is ridiculous, man. Like, only even cards is just so hard to work around, or only odd cards is just basically impossible. And, there's obviously a benefit to your hero power for both Gen Greymane and Baku. But the benefit is not big enough to actually make it worthwhile to run in your deck. That being said, all these first 3 legendaries, hey man, I'll be building decks with them, having fun with them, but from a competitive perspective, these cards will not make the cut at all. 2 thumbs down, baby. Next up, Phantom Militia. So, 3-mana 2/4 Echo Taunt. So if you guys don't know what Echo is, it means that, you play a 3-mana 2/4 Echo card. If you got 6 mana left over, well, you can play Phantom Militia 2 more times from your hand. So yeah, you just gotta keep on playing the card if you have the mana crystals for it, basically. So, I think Phantom Militia will see play in one Wild deck. Quest Warrior, baby. Alright, so this is improving an archetype, and this is exactly what we like to see. Why do you want to run Fierce Monkey, which is sometimes just a 3-mana 3/4 with Taunt, when you can run Phantom Militia, when sometimes later on in the game, hey man, you get 2 ticks for your quest, and that's Sulfurous in your hand, baby. So I think in some cases, Phantom Militia could actually be an upgrade for an existing wild deck being Quest Warrior. So I'll give Phantom Militia 1 thumb up, just based on that. Beyond it, it's vanilla trash that I'll see play in Arena, and that's about it. Next up, Pumpkin Peasant. 3 mana, 2/4 life steal. Each turn this is in your hand. Swap its attack and health. Oh, sometimes it's a 4/2. I like the card art. It's actually decent card art. I like it. It's kind of spooky, man. I mean, it switches from a human to a werewolf. That's kind of freaky. So the card art's good. I'll give the card art 2 thumbs up. But the card itself in wild competitive gameplay, I'll give it 2 thumbs down. And I'll give it, fuck it, dude, 3 thumbs down. I don't know how to do that, but here's 2 and here's 1 extra. This card sucks. Don't put this in your wild decks. Next up, Militia Commander, 4 mana, 2/5 Rush, Battlecry gain, +3 attack this turn. Rush is probably what Blizzard should have changed Charge to a long time ago because I hate smorking, even though I love it. Rush means that you can attack with your minion, but you can't go face, so you can just trade into minions. I think this card is actually really good and actually really improves any kind of a tempo-oriented warrior deck that's not trying to go face. Any kind of a warrior deck that's trying to play for board, but play aggressively, Militia Commander fits into wonderfully. This is a 4 mana 5/5 when you play it. Do you know how broken that is? A 4 mana 5/5 with charge that you can attack in your opponent's minion on your turn? That's insane, dude. It's like you play this to answer a Tar Creeper, it's like, see you later, Tar Creeper, you're just gone, man. Now my 1, 2, and 3 drop can hit you in the face. This card, I think, is like really, really good in Temple Warrior, and is going to be one of the ones that can actually see play. That being said, Temple Warrior is not a very good deck. That's the only problem with this. If Temple Warrior was a really good deck, I would be super hyped for this card. And I actually still am, because it does improve an archetype that I like to play. Warrior is my favorite class, so Temple Warrior being a thing, and you know, cards that do suit it and kind of help it a little bit, propel it upwards. I like it. So Militia Commander, you get 2 thumbs up from me, okay? 2 thumbs up. Because I think this actually really improves an archetype. It's not like the Phantom Militia where it's just like decent, kind of does. I think Militia Commander is a really good 2-up to be running your deck. So I think it's a good card. Give it a thumbs up, seal of approval. Stamp him down. Next up, Mercspark Eel. So this is one of the even cost cards. So it's a 2 mana 2/3 Shaman card. It's a beast. So Battlecry, if your deck has only even cost cards, deal 2 damage. So from my perspective, this one's really easy. Why do you want to be running a 2 mana 2/3 that has Battlecry deal 2 damage when you could do what all the good wild players do and go for your good old... did I misspell that? Oh, we're looking at standard cards, that's why. When you could run your good old buddy Tunnel Trog and his handy companion Totem Golem. Yeah, we could be running Totem Golem alongside that. So maybe we should just do that instead of playing the even odd cards in our wild deck. So, Mercspark Eel from a wild perspective? No. I think it's a decent card, but it's just, you don't want to make an even only cost card Shaman deck in wild when you just play faster decks that do better things. 2 thumbs down. Black Cat, 3 mana 3/3 spell power, +1 damage. Battlecry if your deck has only odd cost cards. Draw a beast. It's all, sorry, draw a card, not a beast. It's also a beast, and it's a mage card. So I think that this is actually a really good card. So it's a 3 mana 3/3 with spell power, and it will draw you a card if your deck has only odd cost cards. Again, it's the problem if you have to run only odd cost cards in your deck. But this is like a power creep to Azure Drake, which is nuts. Obviously with a an effect that's really, really hard to kind of make work. Card itself is really strong now. That being said, will it see play in wild? No, unfortunately not. There's just not a way. You can't put this in your Reno deck because, well, if you're only running odd cost cards, I mean, you don't get to play Kazakus or Reno, so you're going to play Salia, I guess, but that's not going to happen. So Black Cat, I don't feel like it's going to fit any existing archetypes in wild, and it's not going to be good enough to kind of push a brand new archetype like, say, Naga Sea Witch is with this new change. So Black Cat just not good enough. You can think about it. One, would it be good? Maybe like Secret Mage. Oh wait, but then you can't run Fireball, Arcanologist, Mad Scientist. Okay, never mind. Tempo Mage. Oh well, I mean, then you can't run like Sorcerer's Apprentice, Primordial Glyph, Fireball. So never mind. It's kind of just how it works right now in wild. So Black Cat, I'll give it like 1 thumb down because it's a really strong card. Maybe there'll be somebody who pops up with a really good odd cost deck, but I'm not optimistic about that. Strong card though, so I mean that's good. It's a very powerful card on its own. Next up, Gloomstag, 5 mana 2/6 Beast, Taunt, Battlecry if your deck has only odd cost cards gain +2/2. So it's a 5 mana 4/8 Taunt when it's played from your hand, but your deck has to be only odd. So that's kind of crappy. So the way I think about this card is it's like Druid of the Claw, but you don't have the opportunity to charge, and it has +2 health, which is pretty good when you're playing it on curve with Taunt. It's, 5 mana 4/8 with Taunt. I'm not complaining about that. That's actually really strong. Again, the whole issue is you don't get to run a lot of the other cards that are really, really good and would work in a deck that's looking to build itself around taunts. You can play stuff like Death Lords and Sludge Belchers as well, even Hadronics, but you miss out on stuff like Spreading Plague and N'Zoth, which means that this just really won't make the cut in your Taunt Druid deck. Because even if you do play it in Taunt Druid without N'Zoth, without Spreading Plague, when it's res from Hadronics, it doesn't get the Battlecry going off again, so it's just a 2/6. So while I think this card is really, really strong on its own, like most of the other odd even cards that are kind of like tunneled with that game plan, it's just not enough to make up for the kind of deck building decision that they make you have going into the deck building process of Gloomstag. So I don't think this card's good enough. I'll give it 2 thumbs down. Glittermoth, though, so 5 mana 4/4, Battlecry if your deck has only odd cost cards, double the health of your other minions, and it's a beast. I think Glittermoth is one that has a little bit of potential in Wild. So, hear me out on this. It's Divine Spirit on a stick. Yes, you don't get to run Shadow Visions, and yes, you don't get to run Divine Spirit. But in Wild, you still have Deathlord, you still have Valence Chosen, and you still have Inner Fire. And you get 2 Glittermoths. So, if you just mulligan for your Glittermoths and you Kuna slow matchups, sometimes you're going to be able to just, play like your Northshire Cleric on turn 1, bump into stuff, hero power a little bit, draw some cards, mess around, maybe play like a Deathlord on turn 3, get to turn 5, play 1 Glittermoth, turn 6, play another Glittermoth, turn 7, draw your second Deathlord, drop that 2/32, have it stick for 1 turn, play the Inner Fire on top of it, and go in for that OTK. Obviously, that's not going to happen too often, but I do think this card actually has some potential. Maybe not even in like a huge like Divine Spirit OTK deck, although I'm thinking about right now, but maybe in like an odd Tempo Priest deck. Could potentially work. So I do think this card is really good, but again, it's one of those cards you got to build around, and it's a card you got to go in with thinking cap on with the deck building process. You really gotta throw that cap on and just think long and hard about how you're doing this deck and if it's really going to be worthwhile. But I think the card's cool and one that could actually work in WoW. So, no thumbs for this one. It's just neutral. I think that it could be okay at best, but I don't think it's horrible. So that's going to be my analysis on that one. It's this one, the thumb sideways. It's when you really can't make a decision, That's how I feel about it. I also feel like Glittermoth is going to be beautiful golden as well. It's going to be gorgeous. Next up, Face Collector, 3 mana 2/2, Echo Battlecry, add a random legendary to your hand, and it's a legendary. Cool card, one of the ones that's going to have really cool golden card art as well. But unfortunately, Face Collector sucks. Random legendaries in Hearthstone are bad. Yeah, I mean, we could just look, this is going to be an experiment. I mean, we could just go here, go full screen with Hearthstone, and let's just look at some legendaries that you can get from it. Okay? Legendary. And these aren't like being played on board, these are in hand as well. So let's just like look at 10 random legendaries. So Druid, excellent, not bad. Let's go Paladin, Sunkeeper, that's actually good. Shirzan, not terrible. Warlock, Blood Queen Lanathel blows. Warrior, Rot Base, it's good, but you don't want to play it for 8 mana unless you're playing like a Patron deck with Synergy. Lorewalker Cho, horrible. I don't know why I crafted this card golden. Moros, you get the picture basically. There's a lot of really bad legendaries in Hearthstone with really fun effects, but they're very, very weak. And that's one of the big issues of Face Collector, is that, yes, you can play Face Collector 3 times on turn 9, get 3 legendaries, but the random legendaries, no one's going to say they're going to be on the higher end of the power level spectrum and get cards like Tyrion, Yisaraj, like N'Zoth, cards like that. You might just end up with 2 Nat Pegos and a Lorewalker Cho, and you're not going to be too happy about that. So not a competitive card, unfortunately, but a fun one, obviously. So, Face Collector, 2 thumbs down. Next up, Warpath. This is one that I think actually has a ton of potential. 2 mana Whirlwind, basically, but it has the Echo effect attached to it. So I think this is actually a really, really good card because it lets you decide when you use it, and it just becomes stronger as the game goes on, right? Turn 10, you can deal 5 damage to all minions, which is awesome. But it still serves as like, a revenge before 12 health where you just activate Sleep with the Fishes sometimes. So I think that this card is actually really, really good, and, it adds consistency to Control Warrior because you can choose how much damage it does, up to 5. And it adds like a decision-making process to the game, which I think is really good because the card's not one-dimensional. It's one of those things that you really got to think about when you want to use and when it's going to be the most valuable in each matchup. So I like cards like this because they're pretty high skill cap and they're very powerful. So Warpath, for me, definitely improves an archetype. Control Warrior, you get the 2 thumbs up, buddy. 2 thumbs up for Warpath. Next up, 4 mana 3/6, Houndmaster Shaw. Your other minions have Rush. So, I feel like this is just one of those cards you want to play on a curve and hope that it sticks and say, hey man, it's 6 health, a lot to deal with. You're going to have to commit a lot of resources to deal with my Shaw. Deal with. It's not going to be one of those cards you play with huge combos around, although somebody was actually suggesting to me earlier, you can technically get a full clear with this with 3 cards. Houndmaster Shaw, and actually, you might not expect this, but Necrotic Geist. So that is a 6 mana 5/3. Let's see if we can just find it here somewhere. Right here. Necrotic Geist, so whenever one of your other minions dies, summon a 2/2 ghoul, so you run Necrotic Geist, and your choice of a 0 mana 1/1 card. Similar like Tiny Fin, Snow Flipper Penguin, or Wisp. And those will all activate a full clear for you with Houndmaster Shaw, so that's a combo. But I feel like this is just a curve card, like a temp-oriented deck, and you go ahead, play that, and just trade into minions with it the next turn, hopefully if it sticks. But it's just one of those cards that says, hey, remove me. That's just my initial reaction on it. So I'll give it a thumb up. This is like, a really optimistic thumb up, because I don't actually see it fitting in any Hunter archetypes right now. But I do feel like just because it forces the damage is pretty good. It's like a 4 mana 3/6 taunt card that has a really good effect for Hunter. That's kind of how you could read cards like this. Like Bran effectively has taunt on it a lot of the time, right? Like it forces removal because the effect is so powerful, the passive effect. So these kind of cards are cards that kind of like have a pseudo taunt attached to them, basically. So I think it's good for that reason, and the effect is actually decent. So yeah, Houndmaster Shaw, 1 thumb up. Next up, Rotten Applebomb. So 5 mana 4/5 taunt, death rattle, restore 4 health to your hero. This is a card that I'm actually really hyped for Reno deck lists, and I actually think it's really strong because what it does is it gives you the opportunity to run basically a second Belcher. I don't think this card is better than Sludge Belcher because I think the death rattle summoning a 1/2 is more valuable than 4 health in a lot of cases. But I do think this card is going to be a really good card to run in unison with Sludge Belcher if you want another 5-slot taunt. Even in like Control Warrior decks right now, I think this card is better than Direhorn Hatchling. So I think it's really good. And I do feel like it's a powerful card. Restoring 4 health and developing a decent taunt body is really, really powerful effect. So I actually think this is a very relevant card, even though it doesn't seem like it will be for the wild meta. It's kind of like, I don't want to compare it to Fungomancer because they do like basically the opposite thing. Rotten Applebomb saves you, whereas Fungomancer goes face. But they're 2 neutral cards from recent expansions that are actually really powerful and do fit in to the sets. Rotten Applebomb not as much as Fungomancer, won't be meta defining for something like Egg Paladin, the egg version of Egg Paladin that's floating around. But I do think this card could be relevant in like Reno Lock, Reno Mage, Reno Priest even. So I'll give it 2 thumbs up just for that because I do think this card will be played. Next up, Witchwood Apple, 2 mana, add 3 2/2 Treants to your hand. The Treants are 2 mana, man. This card's a joke. I don't even know if this will ever be played in Standard. Maybe like Arena it'll be okay. But even then, you're paying 2 mana to do nothing, and then you're paying 2 mana for 2/2s, which is disgustingly bad. It's just 5 dust is all this card reads to me. It's trash. Next up, Whispering Woods. 4 mana, summon a 1/1 Wisp per each card in your hand. So this is very similar to a card that was played by actually my teammate Jackie Chan heavily. Wisps of the Old God. So that was Battlecry, choose 1, summon 7/1 Wisp, or give your minions +2/2. Unfortunately, Wisps of the Old God was very consistent in what it does and had 2 effects. And the combo with Fandral to make it a lot better. I find Whispering Woods to just be a very, very weak card, and one that won't really work. Token decks right now in Wild are very, very weak, and it actually makes a lot more sense for you to just go for like a slower package with Druid decks and run cards like Spreading Plague, Nourish, just basically the ramp package into Spreading Plague for your defense with Poison Seeds and UI as the top end. Whispering Woods doesn't really fit that game plan. It fits a game plan with like Violet Teacher, Power of the Wild, Mark the Lotus, so it's more of like a mid-rangey card, I guess you could say. But I don't think you're always going to have 7 cards in your hand in a mid-range deck, so this card's not always going to get full value. And even if we're thinking about that in a faster deck, why not just play Living Mana, which is very consistent and very powerful by itself? Whereas this is just not consistent, and it's not very powerful. The difference between 1/1s and 2/2s is huge. So Whispering Woods for me, it's 100 dust and 2 thumbs down, baby. Okay, so probably the card that I've debated the most so far is Rebuke. So it's 2 mana, enemy spells cost 5 more next turn. Very similar to Lothep. So a lot of players I think are hopping on the train where they're like, Control! Lothep is overpowered! He's played in a lot of decks! Rebuke will be a 2 of in every Paladin deck ever! My response to that is probably not, man. Imagine drawing Rebuke in your opening hand against like a Pyro Warrior, or an Aggro Shaman, or an Aggro Paladin Mirror. It sucks. That being said, I think Rebuke is a very good card, in a vacuum. But I think it requires very specific metagames for it to be good. Which basically means Rebuke, I think, will be a counter Q card for decks like Dude Paladin. I don't think you're going to be main decking Rebuke in Aggro Paladin, for example, or even Murloc Paladin. I don't think it's good enough in those cases, or Secret Paladin. Any of those decks, don't run it. Not good enough. It's not worth the effect. Lothep's good because you get a 5/5 body attached to it for 3 more mana, which is really good. 5 mana, 5/5, and making your enemy spells cost 5 more next turn? Amazing. Rebuke, 2 mana spell, do nothing, but make your enemy spells cost 5 more next turn? Not that good. It's win more and not very strong in those decks. Dude Paladin, though. So you can play a much slower game plan in those decks, and this card will be a 2 of in very slow metagames with that deck, I think. Outside of that, I don't think you're going to really want to run it because Lothep as a 1 of is good enough as it is, and this card is very situational, and, it's basically this card that says, hey, Big Priest, you don't get to play Hearthstone. It's like, hey, Big Priest, you don't have Bards on 4, you're not playing the game anymore. That's what Rebuke is saying. And I think cards like that are really cool because I hate Big Priests, so it's cool. I dig it. And this is also a very skill-intensive card, too, which is really sweet about it as well, which is nice. You have to predict when it's very powerful, kind of read your opponent's hand and recognize, hey, they want to use X or Y here, and I need to play around those 2 cards, so I'm going to Rebuke now. So that's one of the other reasons that I like this card, but I don't think it's going to be as meta-defining as everybody's hopping onto right away. I think it's going to be a card that's very good in a specific metagame, and for that reason, I will give it, 3 thumbs up, dude. 2 thumbs up, then 1 more, because I think it's a very strong card, but in very specific scenarios. Vivid Nightmare, 3 mana. Choose a friendly minion, summon a copy of it with 1 health remaining. Okay, so the second this card got released, everybody knows that I hate Big Priest. So I got spammed with stuff about this. So like, Control, this card is going to break Big Priest. I'm like, guys, this probably isn't even one of the best 40 cards you'd run in Big Priest. It just does not work with the game plan that Big Priest has, man. It doesn't say Resurrect on it. It's very expensive for what it does and requires you to have minions on board, which is not good. So I personally don't think Vivid Nightmare will be good. I think it'll be pack filler and 100 dust in most cases. The only time I ever see it really being played is like a Stormwind Knight OTK. So Stormwind Knight's 4 mana 2/5 with charge, so you use like Emperor Thorson and stuff, discount your cards, or Radiant Elementals work as well. You go like, Stormwind Champion, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, 20 damage, and then or 20 attack with Inner Fire on it. Then you Vivid Nightmare that, and that's 40 damage. That would basically be the combo that I see it being used with. Outside of that, Vivid Nightmare is not a good card in my opinion, and even then it's like over the top, unnecessary. So Vivid Nightmare, I'll give it 1 thumb down because there is a potential with that, but this is probably just going to be pack filler in Wild. Next up, Galinda's Crowskin. 6 mana, 3/7 minions in your hand have Echo. This is another one that I was just absolutely spammed with, man. It's like, damn, dude, everybody is so scared of giants. So the second this card kind of just popped up, everybody and their mum was like, Control, Molten Giant. Oh my god. Molten Giant, Giant's Lock, Galinda, broken! Or just giants in general. And while I think that will happen occasionally, I don't think that's going to happen a lot, and I don't even really think Galinda is necessary to be running in Giant's Lock. I'll definitely try it out post-expansion. I might be wrong about that, but my initial feeling is that this card won't be good enough to fit into the best 30-card Giant Select deck post-expansion. Obviously, it depends on how the meta shapes up and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, how much extra value you need in that deck. But in general, Giant Select wants to play pretty fast. So you don't really need value cards like Glinda. So I don't really think she's going to be that good. Yeah. So I feel like Glinda's going to be a fun card, but I don't feel like Glinda's going to be something that'll break Giant Select or make the deck that much more OP. You have to recognize that it's also a one-of, and if you want to play like a lot of Giants, sometimes what'll have to happen is you're going to have to wait really long in the game, right? Like, basically anything that's not Molten when you're really low health, like below 10, you're going to have to play Glinda. You have to go Naga Sea Witch, Glinda, and then your Giant on turn 10. And you only get 5 Giants, right? Because you have to play Sea Witch, which is 1/5/5. You have to play Glinda, which is a 3/7. Then you only have 5 0-mana Giants to Echo. So that's 7 board slots. That's a turn 10 combo, which really isn't that strong for turn 10. The deck looks to seal out victories way before then. If you haven't won on turn 10 with Giant Select, most of the time you're not going to win the game anyways, unless you have Gul'dan and, you know, Mal'Ganis, 2 Void Lords shenanigans going on. But in those cases, Glinda will be relevant. Outside of that, she won't really be. So I'm going to give her, like, probably neutral. I'm not going to say she's going to be shit or great. I think she'll be fun myself. Really fun. Pulling off those combos will be a lot of fun, I think, and I'll definitely try to get the Molten Giant stuff going off for you guys, because I think that will be fun to do, and one of the things I am excited for is working with that, so we'll try to do that. But I don't think she's going to be meta-breaking or anything. Next up, 3 mana, 3/4, Nightmare Amaglam. Hope I pronounced that right. And it's an epic. And its tribe is all. So, the first thing that strikes me when I see this is it opens up a lot of synergy. This is a card that I think will be really good in a deck like Dragon Warrior, for example. Because a 3-drop slot is something that you just really want a dragon in, basically, in that deck, because you only have dragon activators in Dragon Warrior. That's like the biggest thing that jumps out to me. Could be good in Murloc decks, too. Actually, it's probably really good in Murloc Paladin. Your 3-drop slot's really weird, so that's actually probably a really good Murloc Paladin card. You run like that or Cold Light Seer in the 3-drop slot, so that's probably really, really good. Some Beast decks this could be okay in as well. Again, it's just like a spider tank that fits all classes, which is really good. I mean, Totem Shaman will probably run this. Pirate Warrior won't, because Pirate Warrior has the best 3-drops ever, so it doesn't need this. You know, if you want an extra spider tank in your mech deck, this is good. Elementals are good. Demons don't really want this card. But one thing to note is that this is susceptible to a lot of hard removal. Galactic Crawler, Hungry Crab, Sacrificial Pact, the Dragon Slayer. Like, all those cards just shit on Nightmare Amaglam. That being said, though, I don't think that any of those removals, other than Sacrificial Pact, are really popular on ladder. But if you do run the Nightmare card, that is just going to give you a reason to get dumpstered by Giant Select a little bit harder in their Sacrificial Pacts. It's just kind of funny. But I think it's really cool that it does open up archetypes like Dragon Warrior and give them a good 3-drop. You know, another activator for Alexstrasza's Champion, another activator for like Blackwing Corruptor. So I think this card's really sweet just for that, and I like it a lot. It's also really good for Menagerie decks as well. So if we're looking like Menagerie Magician, this card's super good for that. The 5 mana 4/4 get +2/2 to Beast Dragon mech. So I think it's really good for that. Or Beast Dragon Murloc it might be, and it was a mech. I think it was Beast Dragon Murloc, yeah. Same shit. But yeah, this card's really cool for that. I like the design, and I really enjoy the fact that there is a card with all kind of tribes attached to it. So this card for me is a 2 thumbs up just for that. And it does push an archetype with Dragon Warrior. So I dig it. Next up, Witchwood Apprentice, 1 mana 0/1, cosplaying the Hex. It's a taunt card, battle cry, add 1 shaman spell to your hand, a random shaman spell, and it's a beast. So I was talking about this a couple days ago, and this will transition really nicely into Hagatha. Random shaman spells suck. They're not like random mage spells. Random mage spells in general are going to give you a couple things, I should say. They're going to give you card draw, they're going to give you AoE removal, or they're going to give you burn. Okay? Very consistent, and most mage archetypes like all 3 of those things, regardless of what you're playing. They're quite situational, but they're situationally all good. Random shaman spells give you a bunch of random shit, man. Let's just take a look at this. So I was talking about this on stream a couple days ago, looking through this kind of stuff. And random shaman spells, man, let me tell you, especially in Wild, are just not what you want, man. Spell. Okay. So just like look at the variants within like the 1-drop slot. So you got Ancestral Healing, which is terrible in a lot of decks. It's actually not bad if you play for board and you want to res. Totemic Might, though, is trash. It's always bad, unless you're playing Totem Shaman, but then you're not running the Witch's Apprentice. Earthshock's decent tech. Evolve's okay for evolving minions. Frost Shock's okay. Freeze the stuff. Fork Lightning's really bad. Finder's Keeper's not terrible. Primal Fusion's bad. But just cycle over. You can see that a lot of the cards do very different things, like Cryostasis. You never want any of the freeze cards in your deck if you're playing anything that's not Freeze Shaman. You don't want any of the Murloc cards like Ice Fishing or Everything is Awesome. Sometimes you actually would want that in like a mid-range deck. You don't want Spell Set unless you play Control Shaman. It's just all the Shaman spells don't have very good overlap because they all do very different things in specific archetypes. Some of them are meant for buffing up really fast decks or mid-range decks and allowing you to get the win, like Bloodlust. Some are, Everything is Awesome. Some are meant for you to continue controlling the board, like Lesser Sapphire Spellstone, or like Tidal Surge, Some are meant to destroy your entire board, like Volcano or Elemental Destruction. And these just aren't cards that you want in all archetypes, because there's just huge variance between what the effects do. You got Wind Fury and ED. You don't want to play Witch's Apprentice and get Wind Fury in, your Mali Shaman deck. You just don't want Wind Fury and Mali Shaman. It doesn't do anything. You don't want dead cards in your deck. You wouldn't want to slot Witch's Apprentice in your deck to get nothing. So my impression from this card is just because Shaman spells randomly are really bad, this card, by extension, is really bad. So I'm going to give it 2 thumbs down. You don't want to be main decking this in Wild. That's a really good transition, unfortunately, into Hagatha the Witch. This is really hyped up as the only Death Knight from this expansion. So it's an 8 mana Death Knight. Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all minions, and you get 5 armor when you play. And the passive hero power Bewitch, what it does is it's a passive hero power, and after you play a minion, add a random shaman spell to your hand. So we'll talk about Bewitch first. So this kind of just transitions from the Witch's Apprentice. It's just bad, man. I mean, random shaman spells. Again, when you're playing Hagatha, you're usually playing like a slower deck. But in slower shaman decks, you don't usually run very many minions to begin with for one. You usually run more spells, more removal stuff, and a couple minions. So let's look at slow shaman decks right now in Wild. We've got Mali Shaman, which runs somewhere between 2 to 5 minions maybe max if you run Cold Lights. And we've got N'Zoth Shaman, which will run maybe 10 max. I'll say 12 max. 12 max minions, which is actually an okay amount of random spells. But again, it's the whole random shaman spell stuff. Why do you want to play a minion and get Totemic Might? You just don't. Why do you want to play a minion and get Volcano, sorry. You might sometimes actually, but in general, you just don't. So most of the time, it's just not going to do anything beneficial for you, so the passive hero power kind of sucks. That being said, it might be better than totems in that specific part of the game, because sometimes you get the crackle that you need to win the game with, but usually it's just not good. And I think that's enough. We talked about the random shaman spell effects. They're just not powerful in Wild, and not what you're looking for, I don't think. It's not what a Shaman Death Knight needed for a control class. It's just exactly not what it needed. And for the 8 mana price tag, it's kind of ridiculous to be honest as well. And that'll transition into the Battlecry, deal 3 damage to all minions. This is a joke, dude. Dealing 3 damage to all minions in Wild on turn 8 is just laughable. Especially with the hero power effect. This Death Knight is bad straight up. I just can't see it being good in Wild. You lose to aggro on turn 8, so it doesn't do anything. Maybe Hagatha will be good against, Dude Paladin? A slower deck that plays for board? I don't know what else, though. I just don't see this card being powerful. You guys are right. It's a hero, not a Death Knight, my bad. I'm just calling it a Death Knight because all the other ones are Death Knights. Hagatha is a hero, not a Death Knight, my bad. It's a weak hero, not a weak Death Knight. It's a weak hero. 5 armor is still good, though. I feel like even if it was 10 armor, it wouldn't be good enough. And I don't think that Hagatha's ability is powerful enough. So Hagatha for me is 1 thumb down. I'll be a little bit optimistic about it, but 1 thumb down for sure. Not a great card. At all. And I just don't really see it being viable in the Wild metagame. Okay guys, that'll conclude my first review of Witchwood cards from a Wild perspective. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments if you guys disagree with anything I'm saying. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it.